Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds, and I have another player for you to meet today. His name is Marcellus Anderson. He is a offensive guard out of UMass. Nice to have you, sir.
Nice to have you. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, no problem. Of course, started your collegiate journey at Saginaw Valley State, but this past season at UMass, where you've obviously taken that step from being a D2 athlete to a Division One guy. Certainly, really one of the best guys, at your spot there in Division Two before you did make that jump. Dude, let's go ahead and start things out and at least where things all started. Tell me where you're from.
Okay, so I'm from a small town called Culver, Indiana. It's about 45 minutes south of South Bend, Indiana, which it's like close to the border of Indiana, Michigan. It's kind of the connection I had in Saginaw, because obviously Saginaw's in Michigan. So
Gotcha.
there we go.
Culver, Indiana. Went to Culver High School there. Talk to me a little bit about those days back then, man. What do you remember most about your time as a high school athlete?
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about, you know, still looking back to this day about being a high school athlete is, the guys that you grew up with for multiple years playing the same sport all together, and not just one sport. You're obviously playing more than one sport, because obviously I went to a pretty small high school. For those of you who don't know where Culver is, it's about 500 kids total in the whole high school. So everyone's playing multiple sports. I think that was the coolest thing about it is, you got done with football, you went right into basketball, and then you got done basketball and you were either doing track or baseball. And I think the coolest thing about it was that, everyone knew how they had to pitch into their part, and you couldn't just focus in on one sport in a small town, and you had to do your part.
Yeah, probably the best prospect to come out of there, that being a small school. But like you said, did some other sports as well. Diving into that just a little bit. Basketball player, pretty decent track athlete as a thrower. The number that I was able to pull up for you as a shot putter, about a 51-10, which is a
Yeah,
very respectable number. Uh,
no
so,
doubt.
uh, did you do anything with that at all? I mean, did you make it to regionals or state or anything with those
Yeah,
numbers?
yep. So the crazy thing is Indiana in track, obviously an individual sport, but there's no division. So schools my size are, you know, up against schools as big as Carmel, which I think has around 6,000 kids, and Penn in Northern Indiana has about 4,500 kids. So most states I know do divisions for track. So we were in all in one division. There's no divisions set up like that. So it was kind of cool that I got to, win the sectional, was in number one overall in the sectional, and then made regionals and missed the cut by one person. I think top three go, and I was the fourth one. So, and there was some pretty good competition. So couldn't hang my head down too much, but it was still obviously a goal that you were shooting for to make it to states. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as a high schooler, certainly a respectable number. Every time I get over the 50 mark, when I look at those that up those numbers, I make a notation in my notes, with regards to those things because, dude, at the very least, what it does is it showcases raw power. And sometimes as a high schooler, that's all it is like we get the biggest, strongest dudes, and they just say, chuck that darn thing as far as you can.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so sometimes there's a little bit more form than others, other times not. Do you think that you as a thrower in track, you think that translates much, if at all, on the football field?
Yeah, 100%. Actually, the throws coach at my high school was also the offense line coach, so it goes hand in hand. We used to do a lot of similar things, front squats, back squats, just explosive lifts, power cleans, and during track season, the same way we do in the summer preparing for the football season. So, it was one of those, explosive movements, box jumps, one leg jumps, plyometrics, things like that to get you, on balance and ready to explode off of one foot, switching your feet. And obviously, I think it translates like in real life to the game of offensive linemen, how they play, being in a stance, exploding up, throwing your hips through and whatnot.
Good. So, obviously, you was able to finish out your time there at Culver High School. And first place that gave you that opportunity to play was Saginaw Valley. So, talk to me about like that whole recruiting process of you coming out of high school. Was it always going to be Saginaw, or did you have any other offers on the table?
Yeah, I had most of the GLIAC schools. So that's the conference Saginaw's in. Most of the schools in the GLIAC offered me a scholarship. I think my favorite thing about Saginaw was the distance from home wasn't too far. It was about 4.5 hours. And I think that I was super close to my family. And I wanted to be somewhere where they could still come to the games and not have to travel so far away to the point where they can't come to the games and they can't enjoy, seeing me play on Saturdays. So I think the biggest thing I was looking for in a school was like stability in coaches. I wanted to have a coach that was there for a while, and Jim Collins was the coach there, and he was there for 10 plus years when he was recruiting me. And I figured he would be there for a while. I figured that he was, stapled into the program and stapled into, what he saw on how to build a good program. And the offensive line coach was basically just throwing me the good pitches that all the offensive line coaches try to get you to come to their school. And I fell in love with the place and the campus. I visited up there twice, and I decided that was the spot for me. And it worked out financially, obviously, because Division II scholarships are a little bit different than Division I. So you have to, there's a lot of factors going into where you want to go to school in Division II based on how much money they're offering you and whatnot. So yeah, I love Saginaw. I mean, it was a great place, and I love the recruiting process there. I always remember Jim Collins, the head coach, recruited me there. He's actually the D3 head coach at Wittenberg in Ohio now. So he's moved on, but he still remember that guy, no doubt.
Well, obviously, for people that don't know, Saginaw Valley State is actually a very solid program. They've been able to churn out some great talent, all over offensively, and all. I mean, you guys have had some prospects make it to the league, right?
Oh yeah, yep. Last year alone, my last year at Saginaw in 2022, two dudes that started on our defense are actually on active rosters this past year. So Trevor Nowoski was on the 53 for about 10 to 11 weeks with the Detroit Lions, and then Nick Whiteside was on the active roster for the Washington Commanders for the last couple weeks. And talking to those guys, they are confident coming from Saginaw. Our strength coach Chris Winter gave us a bunch of confidence and really worked us. There wasn't ever a thought in our mind that being from a D2, it mattered to us, if that makes sense. We really focused on just getting ourselves better, and we focus on we can't control who we play. The schedule says Grand Valley, Ferris, Wayne State, like that's who we're going to play. So we really just wanted to harm in on what we were doing, how hard we worked, and put all the outside factors away and just work as hard as we can to get better.
Nice. I talked about Nick Whiteside, Trevor Nowoski. I remember actually, dude, I talked to them personally myself and interviewed them, I believe last year or so at some point. So for
Yeah,
people that are watching this, you could certainly go back, look at some of the. I know I got Nowoski on a Zoom like this one, but I think the one with Nick was a written one that's also on our website. So
awesome.
good stuff, man. Love seeing those guys really make it to the league, which is great.
Yeah,
So of course, you I feel like you did a great job there for Saginaw. You were an all conference athlete at least a couple times to what I was able to find. And really solidified yourself there as an offensive lineman, really one of the best at your field of competition, which obviously you kind of had to move up, dude. Let's be real. You had to get yourself, a little bit, more on the radar of some NFL scouts. And so you figure, hey, COVID gives me one more year to work with it. So you ended up at UMass. How did that work out?
yeah. So the wide receiver coach at Saginaw Valley for my first 3 years there ended up becoming an analyst out at UMass, and we still had a good connection. And the offense coordinator out at UMass was an OC in the GLIAC, the conference Saginaw was in. for a couple years. He kind of watched my tape. I decided, like you said, I wanted to play Division I football. At the end of the day, it was something that going to high school, everyone dreams of, shooting your shot at the highest level, which is Division I, and then you take it from there. And out of the portal, I had a couple. I had a couple like group of five offers, Marshall, Eastern Michigan, the MAC schools that were looking at me were kind of talking to me, and they really wanted me to be there in January, like most of the schools obviously do because of spring ball. But I had to finish my degree at Saginaw, so UMass was one of the first schools to essentially be like, "Hey, it's okay, like get your degree and then show up, in May." And I was very thankful for them, and I really liked how they just supported me getting my degree because they knew how important that was to me and my family, obviously, because I just wanted to finish where I was starting at Saginaw. I didn't want to, transfer credits or anything like that. So I finished my time out at Saginaw and then got the UMass in June. And man, it was a fun ride. I was obviously only there for 7 months, but I knew some familiar faces, and it was, man, a great time. Very, very blessed and thankful.
Yeah, you talked about like the whole transfer process, dude. Sometimes those credits don't easily transfer, so
Right. Yeah.
you got to be careful when you're moving
Man.
on to from one school to another because you may end up having to take a class again, which
Yep. Yep.
I remember doing some of that in my time, which really wasn't pleasant. But you got to do what
Yeah.
you got to do in order to graduate.
Got to.
So
Man. Yeah,
um,
you're spot on.
cool. So part of Saginaw there for quite some time, really one of the leaders there, and then moving on to UMass, being more or less the new guy there, obviously learning a new system. Talk to me about those two schools and their kind of feel the thought for their offense. How would you describe both of them and maybe some of their differences and how they execute things on the field?
Yeah, I think at Saginaw, the whole league became a kind of an outside zone league, and because most of the schools in the GLIAC run the same type of defense, we call it the Bearcat. It's a two eyes, two four eyes, and then three linebackers. Um, so I think most of the outside zone plays were working into that defense, and so most of the schools were running outside zone. At UMass, it was kind of the opposite. We ran a lot of inside zone. We ran a lot of stop zone or pin pull, obviously depending on what you want to call it. So, and then we threw the ball a lot more at UMass. We were really rushing the ball over around 35 times a game at Saginaw. So we had a solid O line and some good running backs, and we're really power counter outside zone team. At UMass, it was more of throwing the ball, stop zone, inside zone, inside zone. Had a really good running back in K-Ron Lynch Adams. He was a transfer from Rutgers to UMass, and obviously hit over 1,200 yards this year on the season for him. So that was exciting for his O line, a goal for us to hit. But yeah, it was great difference. Obviously going up in players, there's obviously better players at Division I level, but it wasn't anything that was overwhelming. At first, I got to get used to the speed of the game. Obviously, again, because I didn't do a spring ball at Saginaw, I was just finishing up my degree, and then I was committed to UMass back in December of 2022. So I knew where I was going from the start. So that was kind of cool too. And talking to the coaches and having them, tell me what they run, what kind of offense they run, what kind of scheme do they see me in, guard, tackle, right guard, left guard, and yeah, very thankful for the coaches making it such an easy transition from Division II to Division I. It was, man, very thankful.
Well, I mean, I will say this. I mean, when you are as big as you are, again, 6'5", 6'6", 320 plus pounds. I mean, you would think that a guy that was D2 at that size should do just fine for himself up against all these guys at the D2 at the D1 level. So, and certainly with all the experience that you had, not too, I mean, a little bit of a difference there. I mean, again, like you said, there's like the speed is a little faster. The people on the line are um, as big as you now. So that's
Yeah, yep.
basically what you're getting. So
Oh,
um, neat. So again, they're at UMass independent now. They've been independent for a while. So I mean, your competition is a little all over. So um, talk about some of your competition this past season, man.
Yeah, I think like you said, it's kind of all over. There's no conference, obviously being independent, so you kind of have to pick and choose what conferences you want to play. And obviously, it's the level of the group of five, essentially what independent is. So you really want to pick and choose schools from the MAC. We played Eastern, Miami of Ohio, and Toledo from the MAC, and then we played New Mexico State and Liberty from Conference USA. So we had some good competition. Toledo and Miami of Ohio played in the MAC championship, and then New Mexico State and Liberty played in the Conference USA championship. So obviously, those are four really good teams, four double-digit win teams, and then our two Power Five schools we played were Auburn and Penn State. So it was super cool going down there playing in an SEC environment, and then obviously later in the season playing Penn State when they were ranked. I think they were ranked number 5 at the time, and they had the number 1 defense in the country in FBS. So it was super cool get that experience to play really, really high level players in Penn State and Auburn, and even Toledo and Miami of Ohio are really, really good players. And people know how good those guys are. I mean, Toledo was a really good team. They were, I think, 10-0 at one point and ranked. And obviously, Liberty was ranked too at one point. I'm pretty sure they played in the New York Six Bowl against Oregon. So, I mean, yeah, it was really good competition. I think you do learn what kind of player you are when you play against the bigger schools, the Power Five schools. Like you really have to zone in and lock in, because I mean that's another beast you're dealing with. Obviously, with playing dudes from the SEC and the Big Ten, you obviously want to play your best game, and I think that's kind of what we go out there and did. Just be yourself, play the best game, extra effort, extra attitude with your blocks, and that's what we try to do.
Cool, man. Obviously, again, UMass playing a little bit of everybody, and then you yourself again, being able to match up against them, and hopefully feel like you belong, man. Hopefully feel that you put out your best tape this past season, and being able to match up well against really some of the best talent in the country. So. Obviously, right now, Marcellus, we're looking at you as a prospect, as a guy who's trying to get to the next level. So, when we look at you as a prospect, what do you feel are some of your best traits that you bring to the table, man? Talk me through those.
Yeah, like you said before, I think my size is one thing that really stands out. My arm length and my size, being around 6'5", 6'6", over 320, around 320, 325. Like size, you can't teach size. Coaches always talk about how they want bigger and faster and stronger players. I think having a lot of mass in the O-line these days with how teams run the ball will benefit teams. And I think that obviously they just don't want size. They want size that can move. And I think that's one thing that I've really focused in on this last season is get myself into the best shape I can be in, and really working on my lateral quickness, moving side to side, how fast I can move side to side. And I think that's improved greatly since 2022. So my 2023 season, I looked a lot better on tape, moving side to side. My pass blocking was pretty tremendous on the year. I was like around an 84 and a half on PFF. Pass block grade, so it's pretty solid. My run blocking obviously still needs some work. You still want to obviously stride in both pass and the run, but yeah, I think my run blocking on counter is pretty good on the front side. Watching on the front side, and my inside zone combo blocks are pretty good too. Obviously, you want to cover dudes up, put color on color, and yeah, I think my biggest attribute is my size. I think that putting color on color is a huge part of playing offensive line.
Gotcha. And don't sell yourself short on those PFF numbers, man. Sometimes those numbers, they only tell a part of the story. So,
Right, exactly. Yeah,
the
you
scout,
take both sides. Yep, for a grain of
yeah,
salt.
well,
You take your good and you take your bad. And yeah,
I will say, uh, some of the scouts that I talk to, like, they pay no mind to them numbers at all. They don't really. Sometimes they look at them, and sometimes, but most of the time they don't, because you want to be able to see them pop on film. So
yeah,
that's kind of it. But Marcel is obviously able to, you know, put together some solid tape, some wins, of course. And so let's reflect a little bit on you as a player, as a collegiate athlete. So, um, best memories, best highlights. Give us a couple.
yeah. I think some of the best memories I've had. especially at Saginaw, we were a solid team in 2018, the year I redshirted. In 2019, we got a new coaching staff, and we were 5-6. 2020, there's no season in Division Two, and then in 2021 we were 7-4, and in 2023 or 2022 we were 8-3 and beat a couple ranked teams. So Bowie State came to our place in 2022, and they were ranked 8th in the country, and we beat them 40-12. And then UIndy was ranked number 7 in the country at Division Two, and they came to our place and we beat them 38-14. So those are two that stick out, Saginaw. And then obviously it was I was closer to the guys at Saginaw because I played there for so long, and it was kind of just guys you come in with to college, you live in the dorms with, and it was very memorable beating some of those guys in 2022 because we came such a long way from our first year playing in 2019 at being 5-6. So obviously it was, those are some of the memorable times. And then this past year at UMass, I think obviously playing in such big environments from what I was used to were very memorable with Penn State and Auburn. Obviously I was coming from a Division Two school where I think the most we've had was around 17,000 at Grand Valley, was around 91,000 at Auburn, and then obviously Penn State. Man, it was crazy. But I think a good win we had this past year at UMass. There's still a program, working out the kinks, trying to find out what their fit is. But we beat Army on October 28th and beat them 21-14. And the following week, Army beats undefeated Air Force like 28-3. So it's a great, college football is crazy, but that was one that set in that said, it's okay. Like, we got our quarterback back at UMass, and we put one together at Army, which is a beautiful place to play too. So man, that was one that stuck out to me too at UMass, was the Army win.
Yeah, I mean, hey, like you said, a little bit different environment, moving up, from D2 to D1. You go to these vast, you know, venues where things are just amazing. Let's just
Man,
say it. And you're kind of in awe, even as a player on the field. So, awesome moments there for sure. So,
yes, yes,
um,
sir.
uh, so Marcellus, of course, finished up your time there at UMass, and got a chance to go out to Texas and compete in the College Gridiron Showcase. So, what'd you get out of that experience?
Yeah, I think the College Gridiron Showcase it's a little different from the Senior Bowl and the East West Shrine. It's only like a 3 to 4 day event. You're on the field for 2 out of the 4 days, and most of the time, you're sitting there and you're talking to scouts that have came in through the season to see you, and you're talking to some scouts that saw you do the things that you did in the field at CGS, whether it be the one-on-one pass, one-on-one block, and then they do a little scrimmage. And I think what's really cool about CGS too is they have you do some agility work. So they're not just seeing you play football; they're seeing you how bend your knees, move your hips, things like that. So I think that was probably the coolest thing too. It was kind of close to from the season being over for some of the guys that had played in bowl games. So especially the FBS players. So it wasn't too taxing on the body. It wasn't a week of practice. The guy who runs it, Jose Jefferson, was really big into making sure that our bodies weren't being taxed out. We weren't just clashing bodies for no reason on a Wednesday afternoon. He was really big on, just get in, get your one-on-ones, get your reps. No one gets hurt, which is also very big. And I'm sure the other bowl games are the same way with people getting hurt. That's the one thing that they don't want to happen. Obviously, trying to become a professional. But I loved it at CGS. I think it was very, very beneficial flying down to Fort Worth and getting in front of the scouts. All 32 teams were there, and then obviously I'm pretty sure there's 9 CFL teams that were there too. So yeah, very thankful to get in front of those guys with my agent. So yeah, it was awesome.
Awesome. You'd mentioned that you met with some teams. How'd that feel?
Yeah,
And give us a number first off. Like how many different teams you talked to?
I talked to about 5 or 6 teams down there at the
Oh,
CGS. So yeah, it was awesome. I think most of them were just had some baseline information. The Saginaw to UMass transfer, and then just trying to get my height, weight, and things there, and just basic information about the family and getting interviewed by them scouts was very cool, and it was very it was like a beginning process for me too. So now I kind of look forward to what is coming in the future.
Cool, man. Well, obviously, what you're doing now is you're training for a pro day, and of course, that's going to be coming up in about a month or so. So, what's going on now? Like, where are you at with all of that training and sorts, man? Do you have like a particular like facility or trainer that you're working with?
Yeah, his name's Dustin Branchow. He's up in Marquette, Michigan, at the facility called Advan Edge. He's on the facility for about 10 to 11 years. Jake Witt out of Northern Michigan got drafted out of Northern, obviously, last year in the seventh round by the Colts, and he was working out at this gym, and we obviously had the same agent. So when it was that time to start training, Jake and the agent um, pointed me in this direction. Had some good conversations with Dustin, and man, I don't regret a single thing. He's the best. Good feedback. We get solid work, but it's also mixed in with he's asking you how you're doing, getting personal information out of you. How's your mom? How's your brothers doing? It's business and it's work when it's work, but it's also, obviously it's bigger than just working out sometimes, it's personal level, getting to know you. Invited us over for the Super Bowl and cooked a bunch of food for us. So super thankful.
Awesome. Well, Marcellus, obviously, you're working hard doing that, but do you want to take just a brief moment to see if there's anything else about you that you feel people should know? Anything interesting, hobbies, interests, passions, special talents? I don't know, man. Hit me with something.
Oh, I think that one thing, I love basketball. So I love watching the NBA. It's like kind of like surprising to some people, but I love basketball. Obviously, I'm from Indiana, it's the Hoosier State. Uh, Basketball's probably like my favorite sport growing up. I just happen to be a little bit better at football than I was basketball, obviously, but that's just sometimes how it rolls. And but yeah, I love LeBron. I love Paul George. Those are my two favorite players in the NBA. So yeah, I'm a basketball junkie. March is coming up too, so I love watching college basketball too. But yeah, I'm pretty invested into all that stuff. College basketball, NBA. Yeah, it's awesome.
Of course, I think we all are, man. I mean, if you're a
Yeah.
sports fan at the very least, because you always cheer. I mean, at least, dude, I'm always, rooting for the Cinderella story to happen.
Oh
Whenever
yeah.
those, 12, 13, 14, 15 seed guys end up getting a win, I mean, you gotta be excited about those things.
Oh man, isn't it
Um,
so cool too? Because I mean, a couple are coming every year.
every
You're
year,
filling out your bracket, and you're just like,
usually it's the
which one is
12.
it?
I know it sounds silly, but
Yep.
usually it's the 12 that gets one.
12 gets the five. Yeah, every time.
Yep, yep. A couple other quick things, man. Again, just for fun, favorite football movie.
Oh, favorite football movies. Remember the Titans for sure. Favorite football movie. Remember the Titans. Just watched it actually a couple days ago. Man, great movie. We quote it all the time. Me and my brothers quote it all the time. I think it's a great movie too because I actually am biracial, African American and white. So coming together of the African American gentleman and the white gentleman coming together is awesome too.
Cool, boy. I was also going to ask you if there was perhaps a celebrity that you would love a chance to meet someday, whether it be an actor, musician, or athlete.
Oh man, that's a good question. I think I would want to meet either LeBron or Tom Brady to I was always very impressed with their longevity in their respective sports. And I always thought, sometimes you're in the middle of a football season, you're like, how do those guys do it for so long? Like, especially LeBron and Tom Brady. Obviously, those two have done it the longest in their respective sports. But yeah, I think those would be the two people, and I would just ask them what they did to take care of their body, any tips or tricks that they had and wanted to pass along to anybody uh, trying to have the same longevity.
Yeah, the latest news is maybe bringing Bronny in to play with his pops. I don't know if you read that one or seen that one yet, but that's certainly.
Yeah, I did. That's crazy.
Um, well, hey, Marcellus, I know obviously we need to wrap things up here, but do appreciate your time and want to give you one last opportunity to just kind of close this out with your pitch, man. Tell those teams like why you'd make a great addition. So go ahead and close us with your thoughts.
Yeah, I think something that I can bring to the table that obviously played in a lot of games. I played a lot of football over the past 3 seasons, 21, 22, 23. So I think, you know, the jump from Division 2 to Division 1 is also something that teams can say, well, I mean, obviously played at a really high level in Division 2, but I really didn't like I had a better season in my last year at the Division 1. So I mean, obviously I can play with those guys. I can play at the Division 1 level. It's not like a question anymore of, can he play with the talent? And I think that having guys that have played a lot of football on your team is a very it's an edge. We talked about in college, having guys that played a lot of snaps is an edge over a young team. So I mean, I think that's one thing I can bring to the table is my, veteran experience in college and, playing a lot of snaps and playing a lot of football throughout my day is something that I'll always have on my back. Like, yep, I've been in these situations before. Obviously it's football still 11 and 11 at any level. It's not 20 versus 11 in the NFL. It's still 11 and 11. You got to block as a guard, a 2-eye, a 3, a 2, a shade. You know what I'm saying? It's not any different. Obviously the players are a lot better, and obviously you have to become better, and your diet has to become better. The way you work out has to become way better. So obviously still striving for those things, but yeah, still just remember in the back of your mind that, you've been doing it for a while. It's not a new sport to you.
Right. And again, we're not getting a tiny guy. We are getting a guy who's pretty darn big, who can be
Yep.
that guard for you. Again, somewhere between 6'5" and 6'6", 320 plus pounds of a guy who can dominate and be explosive on plays and really, being able to take care of the guy in front of him. So, Marcellus, want to wish you very best of luck in this process, and you take care of yourself, all right?
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem, buddy. So again, Marcellus Anderson, guard out of UMass. Check this guy out.